With me now is Richard Berthelsen, CTV's royal commentator. Richard, these are really shocking allegations being made against the future king. What do we know about how true this account is based on this report from The Guardian?
Well, as you say, you've qualified it. The Guardian says they have an advanced copy. We do know that there was a significant falling out between the brothers over the years, and in fact, the excerpts that the Guardian and other publications now who have other access to the book in other languages are reporting, that fallout, really started in Harry's early 20s when he felt he was blamed for things that William was not. So we know there is quite a significant gap between the brothers in terms of their relationship, and it seems to have been exacerbated by the arrival of Meghan on the scene. And so what we're seeing here play out is a family spat in the public arena. And I think people who can look in their own families and look at things that may have happened over the years and just imagine if that was, exacerbated by media reportage and people writing books and going public with things, it really makes things very, very difficult because, of course, we are still only hearing one side of this story.
And that leads nicely into my next question, which is, do you expect there to be any word from the palace or from spokespeople for either King Charles or Prince William? And to add to that, Richard, if there isn't, doesn't this just play into what Harry says all along, that nobody sticks up for him, nobody defends Harry and Meghan?
Well, I mean, the first part of your question is, the palace's approach has been not to comment on these matters because they don't want to get into a soap opera, a he said, they said kind of situation. They don't want to continue this story beyond next week. Let's remember we have two big interviews coming out on Sunday in the UK and in the United States, and the book itself will come out on Tuesday and people will make their own judgments. It is possible the palace may reply in some way after all of that if they feel that they simply must, but I think they're going to be very reluctant to get into this kind of discussion because that may provoke a further reaction on Harry and Meghan's side, and then they'll be going back and forth. And I think their feeling is they're going to rise above this and keep it with, from their point of view within the family. It's very unfortunate for them that Harry's choosing to do this. And given that he said he's looking to have a reconciliation, he wants to have a reconciliation, it's very difficult to see how that's going to be possible with these items being put into the public arena.
Right. And by some accounts, the book is really tough on William, not so much on King Charles, but very tough on his brother. So the next big event, a huge event, is the coronation. Given all that we are understanding about the book and, of course, the Netflix documentary, do you expect that Harry and Meghan would still be invited to the coronation, Richard?
I think the palace has been pretty clear that they would be. I do believe Harry is being asked to these interviews whether he would go. And I believe what we saw in some of the clips which have been released in advance of Sunday is that he's left the question open and he expects there to be some kind of discussion with the family. Again, hard to imagine that the family is going to feel they want to discuss things with him if their conversations are being put into the public arena. Again, within the book, we have apparently a section where Charles was a statement that Charles made to the two boys at the time of Philip's funeral, imploring them not to make his life so difficult in the final years of his own life. So that was a pretty private moment, and that apparently is in the book. So the palace is going to be very, very reluctant to get into some kind of private discussion because they won't feel it will remain private.
You do have to wonder, Richard, where all of this goes. I mean, after the coronation, after the book, once the dust settles, then what?
Well, again, it was interesting. We saw that he was asked point blank in one of the clips by Anderson Cooper that 60 Minutes has released about his future with the royal family, and he seemed to shut the door on that quite directly as far as returning as a working royal. Obviously, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex are monetizing this relationship and this information, and that is, in the eyes of the royal family, a cardinal sin. And I think to a large extent for the public, particularly in the United Kingdom, this is a very, very difficult pill for them to swallow in terms of their public opinion of Prince Harry and Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex.
Richard Berthelsen, he's CTV's royal commentator. Richard, thank you for that.